Today, we're going to continue ranking every LEGO Ninjago Dragon. Last time we looked at numbers 53 through 36, so today we will pick up right where we left off now with number 35. At number 35 is Kai's Ninjago Core Dragon. This is easily one of the most forgettable out of the original 3 Core Dragons. I don't know why, but Jay's always stands out a lot more in my mind than this one. But I'm taking a look at some pictures now, and this one does look pretty cool. It uses the same jaw and head that would later be used on the Source Dragon of Motion. In fact, one of my favourite parts of all these Core Dragons are the moulded heads. I think LEGO made a great decision phasing out the fully brick-built heads, and the way they have it now is perfect. The colour scheme looks good, and you can never go wrong with red and orange, and the shaping on this one is nice as well. Number 34 is a set I had a hard time placing, Stormbringer from Season 9. This set is a prime example of if the boot fits. I don't believe this dragon is explicitly Jay's dragon in the show, he's simply on it here because it is blue. Like Giro from last year, well, the dragon's blue, might as well put Jay on it. Or Heatwave, oh look, a red dragon, we should definitely slap Kai on there and call it a day. Same with Firstborn. You know Princess Vonya's dragon Chompy? Well, guess what, it's Woo's now. But anyway, this dragon is pretty mediocre, hence why I had a hard time placing it. It just doesn't leave a huge impression on me, though it's not horrible. I have made my stance on brick-built dragon heads abundantly clear by this point though, and at the end of the day it's fine, but it definitely wouldn't make my top 10 list. In 33rd place is another Ninjago Core Dragon, but this time from the second core wave in 2023. It's Zane's Ice Dragon creature. Note the use of the word creature here, like they haven't fully committed to just labelling it a dragon. And I think putting creature in the name was actually a good idea, because it is wacky looking even by Ninjago Dragon standards. I mean, what other dragon has 6 legs? The colours here are nice and frosty with a healthy mix of white and that colour that I like to call toothpaste. The large blue blades look nice and the whole set looks nice as well. If there's one major bit of praise I can give this set, it is that it does a nice job differentiating itself from the other core dragons, unlike Nia's for example, which is quite unremarkable. Next up is another ice dragon, coincidentally, and this one is Zane's as well. Well, kind of. It's Boreal from the Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. Whilst the season itself may be lacking, the sets for season 11 were awesome, and this dragon is a unique one in that it appears as a side build in a larger set, that being the Castle of the Forsaken Emperor. It reminds me of Flame in the Fire Temple, to be honest. This is another one that I kind of always just overlooked. When I think of Zane's dragons, I always just think of Shard, the titanium dragon, and then go blank. It's easy to forget that this one even got made, especially as it is not the main focus of the set. The head is fine, the wings are fine, and the tail is fine. This dragon is basically one large fine. I'm trying to form unique thoughts on every single dragon, but it is especially hard for ones like this that aren't super standout but aren't bad by any means, which is probably why it is hanging around the middle of the list here. Number 31 is Jay's Elemental Dragon from Ninjago Skybound Wave 1 in 2016. I'll start by mentioning this one's most notable feature, which is its weird shaped head featuring these curved white slopes tipped with yellow. I've always thought yellow makes a good secondary colour for Jay. They used to favour trans yellow when it came to him, but now they settle for a more pale and more opaque colour, which is fine. Though those are the only trans yellow bits on this dragon, but the rest of the set has a nice mix of trans dark blue and regular dark blue thrown in there, which breaks it up nicely. Also, the discs on the neck is something different, and this is one of the dragons that has 4 legs and separate wings, as opposed to something like Flame, where the claws are on the wings themselves. This one is very good for its size and makes a great companion to the other elemental dragon from Skybound, which we'll discuss soon. In 30th place is another Jay dragon. I always thought that Jay seemed to get the most Ninjago dragons, and he does, but so do Lloyd and Kai. Poor Zane, Cole and Nia always seem to get overlooked compared to these 3. Someone needs to start a union for them. Anyway, this is another Jay dragon I forget about, but looking at it here I can say yeah, it's pretty cool. Definitely better than the other Prime Empire dragon. I like the overly vibrant neon green pieces on here, and the big wheel rims used as jets I'm guessing looks cool. Yet again a brick built head though. This was right towards the end of an era because only 2 seasons later they introduced the moulded ones, but here the head actually does look kind of cool. Definitely a lot better than Stormbringer's head. Yet no matter how many they released, it doesn't ever seem to be a Jay dragon as good as Wisp. Better keep trying, I guess. In 29th place is a dragon I mentioned just before, that being Chompy. My main complaint is that this set is labelled as Wu's and doesn't come with the dragon's actual owner, Princess Vanya. They really should have swapped her place in the Skull Sorcerer's dungeon with Wu. The brick-built head actually works very nicely for its size, and this has to be one of the smallest dragons with plastic wings. The colours are a nice mix of black, gold and white, all royal looking colours, which is fitting because Chompy is from royalty of course. This dragon is a very nice specimen and should serve as an example for dragons of this scale in the future. Number 28 is a dragon that I preach quite a lot, Young Dragon Ryu, released in March this year. It took Ryu only 9 months to go from baby to child, or maybe he's a teen. Either way, the build of slightly older Ryu looks great. It's in sand blue, one of my all-time favourite LEGO colours, and he uses a new headpiece that has a very rounded, almost armadillo-like shape, if not for the longer legs and the un-armadillo-like wings. Also, he can fit about 4 baby Ryus on him. This one is available on shelves right now, and if you don't have it already, well then what are you waiting for? This set's great. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider leaving a like or commenting what your favourite dragon is. Thanks. Number 27 is another shortly named dragon, Zippy from Ninjago Season 14 in 2021. Except here he's just called the Jungle Dragon. Even though it had been done in 2 sets 2 years earlier, this is one of the first main Ninjago sets to feature the moulded heads I never stop talking about. I like the head printing and the goofy tongue hanging out, and I like the teal and gold colouring on this one. Something interesting I'd like to point out is that they never name the dragons in these kind of sets. For example, Chompy is just Wu's Battle Dragon, Shard is Ice Dragon, Rocky is Earth Dragon, and so on. Though sometimes they do with Ryu or Heatwave or Egolt for example, but a lot of the time it's just called whatever the dragon's element is. Though anyway, I think this one makes for a very good dragon. In 26th place is the Legacy Golden Dragon. I am a huge fan of the original Golden Dragon, as it was my first ever Ninjago dragon and it still looks amazing to this day. This one however is slightly less amazing to me. The most obvious issue is that it has been shrunk quite a lot. The first version is by no means big, but this just doesn't compare in size. The colours are fine here, they throw in a lot more dark green than the original, and the new moulded head looks just as good as the original. Something about it though just isn't as awesome to me as the first one. The dragon is fine overall, but I really don't think this set lives up to the 2013 version. The 25th spot goes to the Fusion Dragon from Ninjago Season 7 in 2017. This was the first ever dragon that was Nia's, and even then it is not entirely hers, because as the name implies, this dragon fuses both Kai and Nia's powers. Red and blue is a nice combo, it always gives me Nintendo Switch vibes, and the 2 tails at the back looks very cool. Of course, with 2 tails comes 2 heads, which are kind of lackluster. You could honestly fly a plane through that hole between its jaw and its head. Despite being a very cool concept, the final product kind of comes off as just mediocre to me, which is a little disappointing. In the previous spot we discussed Nia's first dragon, so now let's take a look at her second one, this being Nia's Water Dragon from Season 15 in 2021. I do find it pretty sad that Nia has been in the show since the pilot season, predating even Lloyd, yet it took her a full 10 years to get a dragon all to herself. Once again a dragon with an exquisitely moulded head, this one is even more detailed than usual, as the teeth are a different colour than the head. I like the vinyl wings here, and I like the length of the whole thing. Something I just noticed is this dragon has a little handle protruding from its back so Nia can ride it, which is certainly different. There's been plenty of dragon saddles, but I think a handle is a new one. And I've reached the end of my brief summary on why this dragon is at number 24. 23 is a very different dragon, dating back to the pilot season from 2011. It's Cole's Dragon and Rocky from the Earth Dragon Defense set. Rocky has no wings, which is pretty unique among Ninjago dragons, and he has sand green frills around his neck, which reminds me of a Dilophosaurus. He has flags on his back, which is always something I've found a little funny, the mounting of flags on a dragon. The head shaping is excellent. I dare say I like it even more than the current head designs, and the colour scheme of brown and sand green makes for a mighty unusual but fitting combo. It's quite sad that we never got a Legacy Rocky, but what's saddest of all is his grisly fate in the show. In 22nd place is another classic dragon from the pilot season, Shard, aka Zane's dragon, and he appeared in the Ice Dragon Attack set alongside DX Zane and Crazy. And as a side note, I believe Crazy was named after the LEGO Star Wars community. One thing I would like to point out here is the inclusion of orange on this dragon, which is very, very different for Zane. Orange is associated with Cole and Aaron, but seeing it having been used on something Zane related is very interesting. This dragon is an absolute classic, in fact all of the pilot ones are, but this is probably the simplest out of the four. And just like Cole's, this one was very deserving of a legacy set, but sadly that did not happen. Number 21 is the Singular Dragon from the LEGO Ninjago movie. Unlike the film itself, all the LEGO Ninjago movie sets slapped, and this dragon was no exception. It's fully made out of sand green pieces, which is a colour I am very partial to. I love the custom head and jaw pieces on here, which predate even their legacy ones by a couple of years. The shaping all over this one looks great, especially with the gold highlights, and using minifig heads for eyes is something I haven't seen done before. And of course, how can I not mention the golden bananas on its face? It is kind of strange that we only ever got one dragon for the movie, even though they're a huge part of Ninjago, though this one definitely satisfies. The 20th spot is dedicated to another dragon owned by Lloyd, this being his legendary one, released for Ninjago Core in January 2022. Sometimes the naming of a Ninjago dragon is not accurate, but here I think the title works very well, because this dragon is nothing short of, well, legendary. The most striking feature to me has to be the very large, very curvy torso in dark blue, and there are also very large legs and wings in green. The head does it a bit different here, flipping the usual dragon headpieces upside down to achieve the look of a horn on top, and as with most Ninjago things, be it vehicles, structures or dragons, there are gold highlights all over. This dragon signals the start of an era to me, because ever since we have seen dragons have a lot more rounded chests, like on Egolt or the Source Dragon, which I think makes for a more grand look than just sticking the head on a flat body. This dragon is nothing if not epic. The colours are a great combo, and this is one of the most standout core sets. At number 19 is a bit more of a recent dragon, Heatwave from the first season of Dragons Rising in June 2023. Now this dragon's main gimmick is that it can flip completely upside down, which is a new idea, but to be honest, its downward facing form makes it look like it has chronic back pain. Meanwhile, the upward facing version looks a lot better in my opinion. The colour scheme is slightly different on this one, utilising dark red as opposed to the usual red used on Ninjago dragons, and I like the big golden horns present up at the top. This one also had the ability to shoot a dragon core, which is cool, but it does look kind of tacked on. Though so far Dragons Rising hasn't disappointed with any of their titular characters. And speaking of Dragons Rising, number 18 and the last one we'll be looking at today is another dragon risen for the new show, this being Egolt the Master Dragon, released in January 2024. Upon initial inspection, I was sure this dragon was either Wu in some form or belonged to Wu, but alas the show disproved that, though it does bear a resemblance to the Master Wu dragon from 2015, especially with the beard. The most striking part of this to me definitely has to be the hat, because I just think a hat on a dragon is pretty funny. This one features a more monochrome design than most dragons, being primarily black and white, but with also a bit of dark tan and red mixed in there. I also believe this was the first and currently only dragon to have this shape for the top half of its head. This is one I would recommend if you ever see it on sale anywhere, because you'll probably end up feeling like it was better than expected. I certainly did. And that wraps up today's list. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see the third and final part of this series, and if you haven't seen the first part of this, then you might want to click here. Thank you for watching. That's been all for today, folks. Have a great day and see you next week.